Hey everyone, welcome to the very first episode of the Real People podcast. I am so excited to be talking to Stacey Katz-Friedlander today. I'm Dan, with the host of the Real People podcast. We're going to be talking to Stacey. Stacey is a school board member of the Bridgewater Raritan education system. Say hello, Stacey.
Hey everyone.
So Stacey, before we jump into the questions, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. Let the viewers at home know a little bit about you.
Sure. So I'm so excited for Dan to be doing this, a new venture for him. Dan and I go back a few years. We met at the JCC. Well, Dan was working for the Jewish Federation, which I'm still very involved with. And he's moved on to some new things, and we miss him, seeing him every day. But
Yes.
so anyway, yeah, so I'm Stacey Friedlander, also known as Stacey Katz-Friedlander. I have been here in Bridgewater since 2011. I have two boys. One is a high school freshman. The other one is a fourth grader. So my last year as an elementary school parent. Shout out to Crim Elementary School for getting me through all these years. So I've always been involved and active in the community. I volunteer a lot for a lot of different nonprofits and organizations, for the schools, for the PTOs. I've attended board meetings since 2013. I started to get involved with the full day kindergarten movement back then. Myself and a couple of other parents took that initiative on, and here we are 10 years later, and it's finally on a referendum ticket. So yay. But after many years of doing things on the side and volunteering for committees and attending meetings, I had a lot of people in town who kept saying, you should just run, like make it official, just do it. And, you know, just to be clear, most of the years that I've lived here in Bridgewater, and from what I understand previously, most of our Board of Education elections are uncontested. There was very little interest. People were running and you were, you know, 3 candidates, 3 seats, or like I said, totally uncontested. It wasn't until last year when I ran where we had our first like drama.
Just in time.
Right, just in time, exactly. And I was like, oh, what am I getting myself into? Do I want to deal with this? But I stuck it out. I was fortunate enough. There was 3 seats up. There were 7 people running. I had the number 1 ballot spot. So I felt pretty confident as is. It just historically, having that spot on the ballot is usually a good sign. So yeah, so I won, and I won with significant numbers and support. It was a really tough thing though. I mean, who knew that running for school board would be as traumatic as running for a political office? You know, these are supposed to be volunteer positions. They're thankless. It's nonpartisan, and the climate and the culture of the vitriol over the last few years changed that dramatically. So
And that's a really good transition to the next question. And to quote or to misquote a very famous Broadway production, campaigning is easy, governing is harder. You're on the school board, you have a great resume, obviously you have a lot of people behind you. And you talked about some of the vitriol, but and you can touch on you touch on whatever you'd like. What are the challenges you're seeing today? What are the challenges and the opportunities? Let's combine them both.
Right. So I think, in general, every school board member who is elected, once you're elected and you take that oath of office and you have to uphold the code of ethics, you kind of become a team. Or I hope. We have not experienced some of the things that are happening in other towns around us, and I hope we never will. But my experience within the past year and meeting our newly appointed board members gives me a little hope that we'll still maintain this team atmosphere where everybody is working for the same goal, and that we really want to make sure that Bridgewater Raritan maintains its high standards and people want to come move here and be here for our schools. But at the same time, the elections and the campaigns have left a sour taste in people's mouths. So I do think that there's a challenge with the community to overcome that, to regain trust, or even to help the community see that, yeah, we know some of that drama may have happened and people said things and did things, maybe we're involved with things on the side that you weren't happy with, but we're putting that behind us and we're going to work together. that's my hope. Like I said, we've only had one meeting so far as a new board, which is reorganization. So it really wasn't even a lot of board business happening at all. So I'm hopeful, and I think that is the challenge. I think that, when you have people who want to come together from different backgrounds, but they all have um, different ways of doing it. So, for example, and I've been open about this, when I campaigned, I didn't really do much. Like, I was very open and said, this is a thankless job. I'm just putting my name out there. If you want to vote for me, you know who I am. I've been an advocate for our students and our teachers for over a decade. Like, I don't need to sell you anything.
Do you remember who pushed you to run?
Yeah, so a lot of my close friends, but like, our previous board president and member Jill Gladstone had always been on top of me about it. A couple of other, current and past board members, but also some other community leaders and parents in town. But like, I didn't do much because I felt very strongly that this is school board. Like I understood the role of the board, and I understand the role of a board member, and I didn't think that this should be something that you should be spending thousands of dollars on. And everybody knows I hate political campaign signs anyway. Like as an environmentalist, it's always been an issue for me. Like, oh my God, there's signs everywhere. Like, and it drives me nuts when they don't clean up after the campaign. So like I knew I was not even ordering signs. In fact, we took like old signs, and I had kids decorate them, and if somebody wanted to put a sign on their lawn, to support me, they made it themselves, and we recycled them again afterwards. But there's a lot of money that's being spent on school board campaigns. It's not just here in Bridgewater,
Right.
Raritan. It's not just here in New Jersey. There is something happening nationwide where there seems to be this like weird desire to infiltrate school boards and make public education an issue.
Do you
Um,
think it's been seen as that more of an investment now than it's ever been, especially with really hot button issues or not hot button issues, but
right.
it's such an investment now. It's a cultural hot point. Do you think that's maybe some of the thought process?
Absolutely. And a lot of it goes back to misinformation. A lot of it goes back to creating conspiracy theories, things that are just not happening. I think that Bridgewater Raritan has done a really great job, for instance, with the whole sexual education and health curriculum. They put it right out there on the internet. I mean, you go right to our website, you can find it, you can read it, you can look at it, you can clearly see what is and what isn't. So there's no like, I heard this is what's happening. No, this is what's happening, and we've had our curriculum director speak about it at board meetings, and we've had parents change their mind and been like, oh, I didn't, I was told this, but you're saying it's this, and this is it. So, like I said, a lot of misinformation, a lot of education. I hate to say that social media has been a huge problem with this, but it's true. I mean,
Right.
like there's Facebook groups, and there's pages dedicated to this, and I look at it as a former educator even, and I'm like, the curriculum has been the curriculum for like a really long time.
Right.
Like why is it an issue now?
Right.
Or what word changed to suddenly make people angry? New Jersey's number one for a lot of things, right? Like we have Holocaust genocide education, which was something that I think is important and necessary. It covers not just Holocaust and as we know it from World War II, but it talks about issues and things of hate and how dangerous certain things can be. And we also just had Governor Murphy sign over this new that we're going to start teaching students part of our technology curriculum about misinformation and how to understand facts
Very
versus,
cool.
so I just think that there's a lot of things that people keep saying are hot button issues. And I'm like, I don't really understand why they're hot button issues. Like these
When is
are
that
not.
being implemented? That course curriculum for
So he just signed it like Wednesday, right? So,
right.
it takes time. Like the curriculum has
Tomorrow.
to be developed, right? Right, curriculum, right. And I always like every time something like this happens, and now that like I understand a little bit more of the inside process, I always think of our poor teachers and our curriculum supervisors and directors, like they're going to be writing curriculum again this summer. Like every time something changes, like the climate change curriculum. Great, lovely. I mean, that's awesome. That's like my thing, right? but they're going to be writing curriculum. Like it's a job. It's their job, and it will be for the betterment of the next generation of students who are going to come up and have this understanding.
And that's a great segue to next generation. It sounds like, and you're doing so much. I mean, between climate change, you mentioned sexual health and wellness. There's so many different topics. I mean, we could spend all day talking about all the hot button issues
Right.
of education. But let's bring it home. One of my last questions is, if I'm a parent, I'm not a parent, but imagine I'm a parent at Bridgewater Raritan. What's something most parents aren't thinking about that you, as a school board member, if you could just have a big megaphone and say, "Hey, parents, you should be thinking about this either, or you should be proud of this. You should be alarmed about this. You should be excited about this." What's something parents should be knowledgeable of that you don't think they are quite yet?
I think that, with everything, how they say, like, right before people need to go vote in election, like they've known about candidates and issues and things for months, but like literally like 2 days before, they're like, who should I vote for? Or what does this matter? Okay, so I have been yelling from the megaphone since we said we were going to do the referendum. And I think that parents are not into it yet. And we're just starting our town hall meetings. We have a new website going on, but the referendum is the biggest thing that every parent and every taxpayer in my community should be talking about and should be thinking about. These are things that need to be done that haven't been done in decades, and they are long overdue. My big thing is that, we broke it down into two questions. So
Sure.
question one is going to cover all the infrastructure, all these big changes. It's a
Right.
zero tax impact. It's a no-brainer.
Right.
Do it, right? The second question involves full day kindergarten, but it's not just full day kindergarten. It also involves changes to the middle school, which are not part of question number one. So voting yes on question two also creates improvement for the kids, because there's a lot of people who are going to say, oh, my kids are older already. They don't need full day kindergarten, or they survived without it. That's fine. But you have kids going up to the middle school that could use those new science labs, who could use all these other improvements. Not to mention, if we do have full day kindergarten, it makes our model go back to what it used to be and give a traditional middle school. So
Hmm.
right now we have two intermediate schools here in Bridgewater, which are grades 5 and 6 instead of 6, 7, and 8, which is what they used to be. Um, and so some teachers like myself will tell you that when you have grades 5 and 6 in one building, it's like having two schools in one building,
Hmm.
because the curriculum for 6 really spirals with 6, 7, and 8. And that fifth grade curriculum really goes better with fourth and fifth. So it would change things dramatically in a lot of different ways. And I think that people aren't thinking about, they aren't thinking about that bigger picture. All they're seeing is full day kindergarten. Well, it's
Yeah.
not just full day kindergarten. It's improving, everything for these kids who are going to end up at the middle school at some point. And don't forget, we have one middle school. So it's all the kids, every kid in the entire district is going to go through that middle school, and they could use these improvements. They're much needed. And I think they're things, I looked at it, and, the information is online, and I'm excited about them. I don't even know if my youngest will be there, for
Right.
those improvements,
Right.
if they're done and said and everything. But I
It's about
certainly would
principle.
be excited for another child.
Right, absolutely. Right, right. It's kind of that whole school tax in New Jersey. For those who may be watching not from New Jersey, we have an astronomical, some of our taxes that go to our school system. But we have a highly rated school system, so worth it. And part of the argument is, well, why are taxes so high? I don't have kids at school. Well, you pay road taxes, you drive on, roads you don't drive for. It's worth the investment. Is my point with
And
that.
I always say, like, you get what you pay for.
Right.
Like, people are so into saving money these days. I mean, look at the cost of eggs, right? So, I mean, like, we're all about like looking at our bills and how much we're paying for certain things. You get what you pay for. Nobody is moving to Bridgewater Raritan and not thinking about the schools.
Right.
Like, I know when we moved here, we fell in love with the neighborhood and the house, and we knew we didn't have full day kindergarten. We were like, oh, well, whatever, we'll suck it up. We'll deal with it when we have to get to it. But there are people who are moving, who are looking in towns and communities, and I believe it's less than 12 districts in the entire state of New Jersey who don't have full day kindergarten. And
Wow.
in our county, we're going to be the last if we don't pass it.
Sure.
Bridgewater Raritan never wants to be the last.
When
So
is the referendum?
it's March, and I hate to like blank on the date right now, but we are, I believe it's
We'll have the
March
date for the
7th.
part two, the follow up to the
Yeah,
referendum. We'll
I
have
like,
that. It's
there's
all
like
good. All good.
too many dates on the calendar, but we have a ton of town hall meetings coming up because the
Sure.
vote is in March.
Awesome.
So we're bulking everything in January and February.
Stacey, you've been great. You are so involved with the community, and it shows, and with your resume and how much you care. That is so evident. You've been awesome. Thank you so much for being the inaugural guest for the Real People podcast. Any closing note you want to leave our viewers on today from here from sunny Central New Jersey?
So I just want to encourage people who often sit home and have opinions or think that they have great ideas to actually do something and share them. I think the biggest asset anybody can be is a volunteer. And volunteerism and the whole Tikkun Olam is my mojo. And I'm just one of those people that if I think that you've got a really good idea or you've got a voice that matters, I'm going to encourage you to go out and do something with that. So I really think if the year, it's 2023, we're coming out of COVID, it's time for people to get back involved in their community, use your voices, use your, power for good, and, hopefully change things and make things for the better.
And Tikkun Olam, for those who don't know, is an obligation to the repair of the world, which, Stacey, you are absolutely on top of it. Keep up the great work. I look forward that maybe we'll do an update in a couple months, see how the referendum
Sure.
went. So look forward to a part 2 post-referendum, after it passes, of course. I'm Dan. This has been the Real People podcast. This has been Stacey Friedlander. If you have questions for Stacey or myself in the comments, please feel free to comment. The whole intention of this podcast is to learn, to start conversations, open our perspectives to different things. Stacey, you've been great. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.